Hi guys. So today's video is basically just gonna be me complaining because it's a list of some of my bookish pet peeves. While I'm sure most of us are just grateful that we have the opportunity to get to read books in general, there are of course a few little things, mainly with book presentation, that I think drive a lot of us a little crazy. Let's go ahead and start with one that I literally don't think I've ever met a single person who doesn't dislike this thing, and that would be movie covers. We have all seen them. A book that has a perfectly fine cover gets some kind of TV or movie adaptation, and then suddenly they decide to reprint the book with awful covers that have the actors from the movies on them. Who are those covers for? The only people I can think that might really genuinely like those covers are people who maybe were into the movie first or something, or people that are kind of completionists and have to have every edition of their favorite book, even if it's not a very good looking edition. But I'd say for the most part, most of us hate those covers. Bookish pet peeve number 2 actually I think drives me crazier than bookish pet peeve number 1, and that would be when book series get a cover change before the series is done. From a marketing standpoint, also, this really doesn't make any sense. The only time maybe that it makes sense is in the case of where an author used to have a different publishing company and then eventually they got the rights back to their book and then was able to finish the series with a different publishing company and to try to like motivate people to get back into the series, they start reprinting them, right? That makes sense to me, but I don't understand when the same publishing company has 1 or 2 books out in the series and then out of nowhere they're like, let's change the covers. All they're really succeeding in making me do is check those books out from the library and not actually purchase them, because I now don't trust the publishers to finish the series without changing the covers again. The next bookish pet peeve is one I think a lot of us who are fans of epic fantasy and fantasy in general can relate with, and that would be really long book page length-wise, but really tiny book size-wise. An example of this would be the Stormlight Archive series by Sanderson, which is over 1,000 pages per book, and when they release those tiny little paperback editions, it's like, how are you going to open that book and not destroy the spine? I don't like destroying spines, but I also don't like when I can't see actual words that are like going into the spine, and you have no choice. You have to, like, if you want to read your book, you have to break the spine. The next bookish pet peeve would be unaligned sizes and spines within the same series. You all know I'm a Witcher fan. You've probably likely heard me rant about how the American editions of the Witcher series originally came out. Originally, they had the first set of short stories small, and then the second set of short stories big, and then the first book in the actual series small, and the rest of the books big, and it didn't make any sense. And then they finally started to release these small books in the same sizes as the other books, but they sold the very first set of short stories in the right size, and then the first one of the actual series you could only get if you bought a box set of the first 3 in the series. And then I actually just pulled off a series from my shelf to talk about the unaligned spines. The Seven Realms series, which I do really enjoy, they're just a little bit not aligned, like, which I'm going to do a poor job of showing because I'm holding it uneven. But see how the letters are like, oh, they're here on this one, and then they're just a little higher on this one, just a little lower. And just like everything else on this list, it's really not a big deal. It is not a big deal at all in the grand scheme of life, but, you know, I mean, every time I see it, it's just like, Now, both the series I just picked on, Seven Realms and the Witcher series, they do not fall into this next bothersome pet peeve of books for me, and that would be when there's no number for the series on a series. So what I'm referring to can be seen very clearly on these books. They actually demonstrate it perfectly. They have book 1, book 2, book 3. They let you know which book that particular book is in the series. And then we get to series like the Dresden Files, which I really love and adore, but there's a butt ton of them, and they don't tell you. They just say a novel of the Dresden Files. I mean, even if an author doesn't know exactly how many books are going to be in their series, I would think if you're going to have like over 10, you'd at least know when you first wrote book 1 that that wasn't the only one. And it can be so confusing when the titles also don't really mesh with where you think the book should be in the series. For instance, with Mistborn, the first one is called The Final Empire, and on certain editions it doesn't tell you that it's the first one, so it's kind of like, wait, it says final. Does that mean like it's the final installment or what? And while the Witcher American editions do say book 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 in the series itself, they don't really let you know that the short story stories are supposed to be read beforehand, and the very first set of short stories is called The Last Wish. So I think it's so confusing for people who are like, wait a second, this one says number 1 and then this one doesn't have anything and it says last, so when do I read it? The next bookish pet peeve is one that I think not very many people probably are even aware of or even care that much about, but when I first noticed it, I was like, wait, why? And that would be when books within the same series go from having a matte finish on the cover to having a glossy finish on the cover. I'll show you exactly what I'm talking about. And like I said, this one is pretty much on the, like, it's on the down end of the annoyance level, but still it's a teensy bit annoying. But let me show you how beautiful matte finish of Words of Radiance is. Very nice, very nice. And then we have Oathbringer, the third one, and very shiny glossy finish. Also nice, but not the same. This next bookish pet peeve that I'm going to mention is one that maybe you haven't experienced yourself, and it's honestly me just being kind of prissy. But I do not like when I go to a brick and mortar bookstore and they charge me more for the book. That's reasonable, right? They had the book shipped to them. Makes sense. But if their book is damaged and they don't give you a discount, what the heck? Part of the appeal of paying more money to go to the bookstore is that you can get the book immediately and you don't have to worry about it getting damaged in shipping. When it is damaged though, and it's the only one they have at the bookstore, and you came to that bookstore, you drove there and you find it and you're like, yes, I got it. And then you see that like the back cover is bent in half and you go up to the bookseller and say like, hey, this is a little damaged. Is there like a discount or anything? And they're like, no, I mean, we can order you a new one if you'd like. What? No, I came here. I can order it for myself, first off. I don't need you to order the book for me. Look at me, I'm 25. I know how to use the internet. Secondly, you're supposed to be supplying this good product to me and it's damaged and you're not gonna offer a discount? As somebody who once worked in retail, if there was damage to the clothing, we would give people a discount. It's just good business. The last bookish pet peeve I'm going to mention is one that I think is going to shock a lot of people because I think a lot of people actually love this particular thing and I personally do not. And that would be sprayed edges. For those of you that don't know what sprayed edges are, it's when literally they spray the edges of the book pages. I don't like it. Once again, this goes back to my being really into consistency and maybe a little obsessive about the way my bookshelves look, and I hate when I'm looking at my bookshelves and I see these nice, you know, all the tops of the books look like this, and then out of nowhere there's one that's like, oh, nope, I'm different. Deckled pages, which is when the pages are all uneven in a book and it makes it kind of look old, those at least mesh with the other page colors. But when you got this bright color popping out at you when you're looking at the tops of your books and the rest of them all look the same, I don't like it. Anyway, that's it for my list of bookish pet peeves. Let me know what some of your bookish pet peeves are, whether they're the same on this list or whether maybe you've got some I didn't mention. That's it though. Thanks for sitting and watching me rant and be a brat for a few minutes, and I hope you guys have a great rest of your day. Bye.